There was a time when talk about crypto was pretty high-minded. The people in my world who were talking about it really had these very noble goals for it. I have a friend who was a very moral person, and he was very concerned with social justice issues and issues of equality, especially the differences between how people in the United States get to live and how people in less stable and more corrupt countries get to live. And he thought of crypto as one of these solutions. He basically said, I think the idea is that people in other countries should be able to use this untraceable digital currency to access opportunities that typically have only been reserved for countries that have stable economies like ours. He really thought of it as this great sort of leveler. But of course, that's not how we're thinking about crypto anymore, especially after this dinner last Friday in which President Trump took in millions and millions and millions of dollars in exchange for access to him at his Virginia golf club and access to him granted to people, most of whom seem to have been from other countries. Now, we've known for a time, right, that crypto had the opportunity, offer the opportunity to people to launder money. I once spent some time in Humboldt County in far northern California, which is a big marijuana growing place. And I was doing a documentary about people trying to make the transition from illegal marijuana to then legal marijuana, and could they make that jump? And one thing, it's funny to go spend time with people who do that for a living because they live an entirely cash life. They can't bank at all because their stuff has been illegal all this time. And so these places are just awash in stuff that they can buy in cash, motorcycles and guitars and all these hobby sort of things. And everywhere, not only would I bump into these sort of hobbyists, these really intense hobbyists, I would also bump into people giving a huge amount of attention to crypto. They were looking, I'd see these cards everywhere from various crypto companies trying to say, hey, here's a good place to put your money. And clearly, this opportunity to turn this cash into untraceable digital currency was something big for them. That was when I first started to get a hankering of just how helpful crypto could be to people who were trying to escape scrutiny from regulators. And until really only a few years ago, President Trump was not into crypto. He used to talk about it as being worthless and based on thin air as, recently as 2019. That was the line he took. But he then got to be part of an NFT sale. Do you remember non-fungible tokens? This was like digital art that you could buy that was protected by this, or sort of registered by the same kind of technology that crypto uses. It was these silly cartoons of apes and stuff that you could buy. Well, Trump offered one, and this was when he was out of office, and he these $99 pieces of art of Trump that were showing him really jacked up and muscled. It was ridiculous. But he took in, the estimate is about $20 million on that sale. And, people watching him and the crypto space say that that's really when things seem to have turned around. Suddenly this guy was intrigued. Like, what is this thing in which I can cook $20 million out of nothing, literally out of thin air? An NFT, as you know, doesn't give you actual ownership over anything. You just are registered as having paid for it. That's really all it is. So that seems to have gotten Trump thinking about it. And that's when crypto people began to try and get in front of him. And among them was a guy named Justin Sun. Justin Sun was an early crypto entrepreneur who did a huge amount of work trying to get in front of people, who could help crypto be taken more seriously. And Justin Sun turns out to have been the top investor in the Trump coin that got him entrance to this dinner that took place last week. So at this dinner, 200 people got to come who were the top investors in Trump's meme coin, literally called Trump. And a meme coin, just so you know, is inherently worthless. All it really is me declaring, I have a coin, a meme coin. I'm going to call it Jake. And if you buy it, all you're getting is the distinction of having bought it. You can't resell it. All you're hoping is that someday there's some way that you might be able to exchange it with somebody else, sell it to a friend or something. There may be some way to do that in the future, but at the time that you are buying it, there is no way out. Your money just goes in and stays there. And in Trump's case, the meme coin, for your average person, if I invented one, that would be stupid. But people very quickly realized that in buying the meme coin, Trump, they were essentially getting to directly signal to Trump, hey, I look at me, I've given you money. And once you hit a certain threshold, a bunch of that money falls straight to Trump and his business and his family directly, not to his campaign, not to any of the regulated forms of contributions that are supposed to happen in politics, just directly to him through crypto. So Justin Sun outed himself. Everybody else was kept anonymous. The White House did not release a guest list for this dinner. But a handful of people outed themselves, and Justin Sun was one of them. And he said, literally, he wrote on X at the time, he said, I am proud to be the top holder of Trump and proud supporter of President Trump. It was an honor to attend the Trump gala. Thank you, POTUS, for your unwavering support of our industry. Now, CNBC reports that Sun has put $22 million into the Trump coin and another $75 million into World Liberty Financial's coin. That's the other Trump stable coin. I'll talk about that one in a second. So here's the other thing to know about Justin Sun. Justin Sun he was a crypto mogul. He's born in China, and he was until recently facing fraud charges from the Securities and Exchange Commission. But after he got involved in Trump's crypto operations, the SEC recently paused his case. Just hit pause on it. That's it. And Sun, along with these other folks, got direct access to the president at this dinner. Not just, the kind of handshake that you get with a donor for giving $1 million, but in this case, a true ledger of here is the amount of money they have directly given him, directly put into his business and his pockets. Now, the stablecoin, World Liberty Financial's stablecoin, is another one in which basically once you put any money that goes into it, and that once you've satisfied paying off the operations and various things of this silly company that doesn't really do anything, 75% of all the revenue goes directly to Trump and his family. That's it. So the estimate, all told, between the meme coin, the stable coin, and all the other crypto stuff he has done, is that Trump has probably amassed about $700 million through this stuff. Pretty good for stuff that's literally, that this guy himself pointed out, is literally worthless, has no other purpose. But the fact that you're the president of the United States, gives you, it gives people a reason to give money in this really powerful way. And here's the other thing that's really important to note here. So at this dinner, as I say, the guest list was kept secret, but Bloomberg, doing some really good reporting, took a look at the digital IDs and the paths the IP addresses by which these folks were operating, and through a little bit of digital sleuthing, figured out that the majority of them seemed to be coming from other countries. And here's the crazy part, right? In the United States, it is specifically forbidden in the Constitution, under the Foreign Emoluments Clause, for federal office holders to accept money from foreign powers. Now, it may be that all these folks are private citizens and that may not be strictly speaking illegal, but we have no way of knowing because because the guest list was kept secret. It didn't happen at the White House. It happened at Trump's Virginia Golf Club. We don't know. What we do know is that federal law defines two illegal ways someone might seek to buy favor from a public official. It's called Section 201 of Title 18. And what it says is that if the connection is causally direct, if money was given essentially to purchase or ensure an official act as a quid pro quo, then the crime is called bribery. If the connection is looser, if money was given after the fact as thanks for an act but not in exchange for it, or, this is the important part, if it was given with a non-specific intent to curry favor with the public official to whom it was given, then it is a gratuity. And both of those fall technically under a bribery statute. And Article 2, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution specifically mentions bribery as grounds for removing the president. The president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, in my work as a technology journalist, I spend a lot of time bumping into places where the work that criminals do to take advantage of technology moves out past our current legal regime. And, it is, I call these future crimes, things that are clearly wrong, but don't technically fall under the sort of normal legal statutes. And you might hope that, because any other president who did this would be in such incredible political trouble, that there might be some kind of political safeguard around this. Well, Jake Tapper had Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson on over the weekend, and in that conversation it became clear that there's not going to be any political punishment for him, certainly not from his own party. Tapper asked him, he said, I really have a difficult time imagining that if this was a Democratic president doing the exact same things, you wouldn't be outraged. And Johnson claimed not to know anything about it. He said, look, I don't know anything about the dinner. I was a little busy this past week, so I'm not going to comment on something I haven't even heard about. I'm not sure who was there or what the purpose was. Then, later, when Tapper asked him to compare Trump's business dealings with the allegations that Republicans had made all this time about the Biden family, Johnson essentially said that bribery is not bribery if it's done in broad daylight. Johnson said, quote, the Biden crime family, as they were named, earned that title. Why? Because they used shell companies, fake LLCs, and what appear to be money laundering operations. President Trump does everything out in the open. Now, Democrats are doing what they can. Senator Richard Blumenthal has opened an investigation into this as the ranking member of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. There's sort of a preliminary inquiry going on. And he points out that it allows, this Trump meme coin allows and even invites, he says, anyone in the world, including foreign governments and unscrupulous individuals, to directly enrich the president while hiding potential payoffs in the pseudonymity of the blockchain. But this is the thing. We're in this world where this very noble idea that we were going to somehow get away from the conventional banking system in the ways that it keeps so many people out of the opportunity to earn real generational wealth. That idea has been perverted and turned now into something else. I don't hear about the moral ideas about crypto anymore. I just that rhetoric has really gone by the wayside. And now it is grifters like the folks that showed up at this dinner who seem to be driving crypto. And to me, this idea that technology entrepreneurs have always had, that if you can just create a little less friction in the system, then that is the marginal utility that makes things better. It's created some breakthrough technologies, but it has also cast aside the idea that the creator of the technology should in any way be responsible for what comes next. And to me, I hope that at the end of this administration, we've learned a little something about the need to be a little more restrained about this stuff, because it turns out that there aren't enough good intentions, there aren't enough legal scholars, and there isn't enough political wherewithal to keep the guardrails around this kind of thing. And instead, we're just seeing corruption out in the open.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.